Hello. Hi, I'm Alison David. I am one of the matchmakers and dating coaches here at Midwest Matchmaking. And today I am going to be going over some of the top three mistakes that I see singles making that are keeping them from finding the right person and ultimately falling in love and doing what they came here to do. Um, so if you're familiar with how we work at all, you know that one of the main reasons our clients choose to work with us is that we have a pretty intensive screening process that goes on behind the scenes, as far as like each person that we're working with and we end up setting up on a date, whether it be a client, whether it be someone who hops onto our passive database where we end up matching them to a client, or even recruiting from outside of the database. Everyone is screened. We ask you a lot of really personal questions before we set you up on a date. And for some people, especially clients, that process takes several hours of us getting to know you and asking you a lot of questions and getting to know what we're looking for. Every so often, we decide to change things up and start asking different things to get to know them and see, how those things can affect the long-term relationships that we're helping people look for. And recently, one of the ones that we added was, why do you feel that you are single? Which on the surface, this seems like a really obvious question for a matchmaker to be asking their client. But behind the scenes, like the responses kind of give us hints as to what to look for when we're working with them, and possibly even things that we need to work on when we are doing the coaching with them as well. So for example, I had a gentleman recently who had told me that he doesn't feel like the women he meets and talks to know what they really want. Another said that they don't have the time to invest in the amount of time it takes to meet someone using the apps. But really, if you big picture sit back and look at it, the common denominator in both of these answers and scenarios is really their own behaviors. So the guy who said that women doesn't know what they want, he's going on dates, but he is blowing it before he ever gets to the date because he's over texting him and sending him too many things because he's so eager and excited about it that it gets to the point where the women cancel the date altogether. So what he sees are as mixed messages, and say I'm saying yes to a date, but then later canceling is really his behavior doing something that's turning them off. Looking at the woman who says that she's too busy, she's not treating dating the same way that she would treat her job or her friends or her kids, other things that are a priority in her life, by actually making the time to do it. So most of the time, the key to finding success and finding the right person is really going to fall back on yourself and adjusting your own dating habits a little bit. The most common mistakes that I think singles make can kind of be lumped into three different categories. And the first one is the most common, and it's a very wide category, but in some way, shape, or form, you're probably being too picky. Everybody would like to date a fitness model, but are you a fitness model yourself? And don't you think that fitness models maybe also want to date other fitness models? We had a gentleman tell his matchmaker a week or two ago in so many words, I realize I'm not in really great shape myself and probably could do a little bit of work, but I want a partner who already is in great shape. So the first thing you need to look at, are you asking for things out of a partner that you're not really willing to be bringing to the table yourself? This also applies to income, education level, kids, certain things like that. If you're asking for someone who has things that you want, but you're not willing to offer it to them, that's probably being too picky. Another part of this could also be making the decision to meet someone on a profile or a picture. Online dating has really kind of ruined dating, in my opinion, by making it all about that first impression and physical appearance and not about the stuff that really matters when it comes to long-term compatibility. Having standards for yourself is very different than being too picky. So standards, I would say, are about what you need in a relationship, and knowing those and what you actually need is really great. It's going to help you in the long run. Whereas pickiness is about what you want and things that may or may not really matter when it comes down to finding someone and dating someone and having compatibility in a long-term relationship. So saying, I need a partner who is willing to give me his undivided attention when we're on dates and talking about important things is really important to me. That's a need. But wanting him to also be 6'2" is where we're going to draw that line, because unless you can find me the studies that show that men who are over 6 feet tall are proven to be better listeners or better at relationships than men who are 5'9", that's a want, not a need. Unless maybe you're a 6 foot tall woman yourself, then it might be a need. Still could maybe be a want, though. We could talk about that. But knowing what you want is great as long as it's realistic and not keeping you from going on dates. So think about that when you're dating. Is it something you want or is it something you need? And if it's something that you want, maybe look aside and just say yes and meet that person and see if they have something you might need instead. Another thing that I see people doing, like the lady I mentioned earlier, is hiding behind your schedule. So I get it. Dating is hard. Opening yourself up to the possibility of being rejected is hard. Being vulnerable is really hard. But all of these are things that you are required to do in order to get to the love that you're looking for, right? You're going to have to date. You're going to have to open up, all of these things. So when I hear people say that they're too busy, what I hear is they're not really willing to make it a priority. It's a really great excuse when you're not super serious about finding someone and doing the work that it takes to find someone. Everyone's very busy, but you have to make sure that you make it a priority, the same way you would your kids, your dogs, your job, all of that. I tell all of my clients, when you start dating, you almost have to kind of block out time and imagine you're already in a relationship and treat the person that you're dating, even though you're not in a relationship with them already, like you are, because you couldn't not respond to your significant other's text for a week and expect them to not be mad, right?